Okay, wicker furniture. We've all probably got a piece or two around, right? Like maybe a patio set or a laundry basket tucked away somewhere, or even one of those cute little plant stands. But I gotta be honest, I don't think I ever really stopped to think about the people who actually make those intricate woven pieces.
Yeah, it's easy to just assume it's all mass-produced these
Mm.
days, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is actually way more interesting. You shared some really fascinating sources with me about the world of wicker furniture making, and honestly, it's this surprisingly modern blend of like age-old techniques and cutting-edge technology.
It really is. I mean, it's fascinating. Our deep dive today takes us behind the scenes of this whole craft, like exploring what it actually takes to be a wicker furniture maker today, the skills involved, the career paths, even how technology is, like changing the game, ready to be surprised.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
this isn't just about weaving baskets. It's a whole complex craft with a really rich history and a surprising amount of nuance, honestly.
Right. And we're diving right in with this career guide, Wicker Furniture Maker, you sent. One thing that really jumped out at me was just how much goes into each piece. Like, we're talking way more than just weaving here.
Yeah, it's definitely not something you just pick up in an afternoon, that's for sure. We're talking about artisans who are involved in literally every single step of the process.
Okay.
From selecting the raw materials, which, by the way, can be rattan, willow, bamboo, each with its own properties, right?
Hmm.
All the way to the final touches on the finished piece.
Oh, and speaking of final touches, the guide mentions surface treatments. And honestly, I always thought that was, just for looks, make it look nice. But apparently, it's actually crucial for protecting the furniture from damage. Like, it can even make it fire resistant in some cases. That just blows my mind. Who knew there was so much, like, science involved in wicker furniture?
Right. It's a perfect example of how something that seems so simple on the surface
Mm.
can actually be deceptively complex. It's this really cool combination of artistry, traditional knowledge, and, yeah, even science that makes it so fascinating to me.
Totally. And speaking of fascinating, let's talk about the career itself. The guide actually lays out this really detailed progression path with clear steps from like entry level all the way to becoming a seasoned pro. You can even become get this, a senior wicker furniture maker, which honestly sounds kind of prestigious.
Yeah, it really does speak to the level of expertise you can actually achieve in this field. What I found really interesting was how the guide really emphasizes continuous learning throughout your entire career.
So it's not just about mastering the weaving techniques then.
Oh, not at all. Imagine this. You're a wicker furniture maker,
Yeah.
right? You need to stay totally up to date on new materials, maybe explore sustainable options. And on top of that, you've got to keep up with like evolving design trends, maybe even incorporate new tools or techniques.
Wow. So it really is a lot like any other professional field today, then, huh? Like you've got to stay adaptable, keep learning new things to really stay ahead of the curve. Speaking of which, you send over those excerpts from RoleCatcher, and it seems like even the world of wicker furniture making is like being touched by AI now.
Yeah, it's this fascinating, I don't know, collision of the ancient and the cutting edge. This platform, RoleCatcher, it's designed to help people navigate their careers, and now it's being used by these craftspeople who've been honing their skills for generations. It's kind of wild.
It really is. Like, apparently, wicker furniture makers are using it to find jobs, tailor their resumes to specific employers, and even get this practice interview questions. Who would have thought?
I know, right? It really highlights how technology is transforming the way we work in like every single field, even trades that seem so deeply rooted in tradition.
So it's like we're seeing this really interesting dynamic, right? Where technology, things like RoleCatcher, are kind of making their way into a field as traditional as wicker furniture making. So what do you think? What does this actually mean for the future of craftsmanship more broadly? Is it a threat or is it actually an opportunity?
Yeah, it's a question that honestly I think a lot of people are kind of grappling with these days, and not just in this field, but across all sorts of different trades and crafts. I mean, some people might worry that technology is going to come in and just completely replace the need for actual human skill. But honestly, yeah, I see it a little differently.
Oh, yeah. How
All right.
so?
Well, just imagine for a second a world where instead of replacing the craftsperson, technology actually amplifies their reach. Like, what if instead of mass-produced furniture, we started seeing a real shift towards unique handcrafted pieces?
Like, you're talking about a full-on resurgence of bespoke craftsmanship. That would be so cool.
Exactly. And you know what? Platforms like RoleCatcher that we were just talking about, those could actually play a really key role in a shift like that. Like imagine you've got this amazingly skilled wicker furniture maker. They're out there in like, a small village somewhere. And suddenly, because of technology, they're able to connect with customers literally all over the world.
It's like we're breaking down all those geographical barriers that used to exist, and suddenly these artisans have this global stage to showcase their skills. That's amazing.
Exactly. And it's not just better for the artisans either. Think about it from the consumer's perspective, too. It opens up this whole world of possibilities beyond just, whatever's available at their local furniture store. Suddenly, you could have a piece in your home that was handcrafted using techniques that have been passed down for, like, generations. Maybe it's even made with sustainably sourced materials. And it's all thanks to technology bridging that gap.
Man, I love that perspective. It's not, technology versus tradition. It's about finding ways for these things to, like, coexist, or even better, to actually complement each other.
100%. And, that kind of brings us back to the actual artistry of the wicker furniture itself. Like, what is it that really makes a well-crafted piece stand out from the crowd? What should someone who's maybe interested in investing in something truly special be looking for?
That's a great question. And honestly, I'm not sure I could even tell the difference between a mass-produced wicker chair and one that's been, meticulously handcrafted. Could you?
One of the really key things to look at is the material itself. Like high-quality wicker furniture, a lot of times that's going to be made from rattan, which is, it's known for being super strong and really flexible, too.
Right, right. And I remember the guide mentioned willow as well, right? So are there actually like different weaving techniques used depending on the material?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Willow's actually a lot more pliable than rattan, so it lends itself to different weaving patterns, different styles. And a really skilled artisan is going to understand all those little nuances. They'll know how to choose the best material and the best technique for each individual piece. It's pretty amazing.
Wow. So it really is like its own art form. It's kind of like, when you're building something out of wood, how it's important to choose the right kind of wood. It's not just about the way it looks. It's about like understanding the properties of the material and how it's going to perform over time.
You got it. That's exactly it. And that level of knowledge and understanding, that only comes from like years and years of experience, often passed down, through generations of craftspeople. And I think that's a big part of what gives handcrafted wicker furniture its soul. You know what I mean? It's got a story behind it, and it's a testament to the enduring power of craftsmanship, even in a world that feels increasingly, I don't know, dominated by technology.
It's funny you should say that, because we started off this whole conversation talking about AI and like these career platforms. And now here we are talking about the soul of handcrafted furniture. It's kind of come full circle.
It really has. And I think it just goes to show, even in our our technologically advanced world, there's still this deep appreciation, this real human need for the human touch, right? For the beauty and the artistry of something that was created by hand.
It's like that old saying, they don't make them like they used to, except in this case, they actually do. And thanks to technology, who knows, maybe we'll start seeing even more of these like handcrafted treasures in the future. Going on this deep dive into wicker furniture making, it's really been honestly kind of eye-opening. I had no idea there was so much to discover, like everything from those really skilled techniques to the surprising impact of technology on the whole thing. It's wild.
It really is. And I think it just goes to show, sometimes the things that seem the most ordinary can actually reveal these really extraordinary stories if you just, if you take the time to sort of look a little closer.
Totally. So as we're kind of wrapping things up here, I'm curious, what's your biggest takeaway from all this? Like if you had to pick one thing.
That's a good question. For me, I think it's that reminder that craftsmanship, it endures. Like even in a world that feels increasingly driven by technology, there's just something so inherently valuable about those skills that are passed down through generations, about that art of actually creating something beautiful and enduring and doing it by hand.
I totally agree. And what I think is really encouraging is that, like you were saying earlier, technology might actually be playing a role in like preserving those traditions, by connecting those artisans with this whole wider audience and kind of sparking this, I don't know, this renewed appreciation for handcrafted goods.
Exactly. It's not about, choosing sides. It's not technology versus tradition. It's about finding those ways for them to coexist and maybe even, like we were saying, to actually complement each other.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, to our listener out there, hopefully this deep dive has maybe sparked a little bit of a new appreciation for, that wicker furniture you might have sitting right there in your own home. And hey, maybe next time you see, I don't know, a beautifully woven basket or a cool chair, you'll actually, like, pause for a second. Think about those skilled hands that went into crafting it. Think about the history that it represents. And maybe even, those subtle ways that technology might have actually played a role in bringing it into your life.
And hey, maybe you'll even be inspired to go out and, find yourself a local artisan. Commission a piece of your own. Add your own chapter to that long story of craftsmanship.
That's a great idea. Well, on that note, thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll catch you next time for another deep dive.